My fiancée slept with her ex just 2 weeks before our wedding. Now she wants me back. But what I said at our engagement dinner left her in tears and speechless. I'm Marcus, a 32-year-old software architect, and I was engaged to Sophia, a 30-year-old marine biologist, for 3 years before she completely destroyed everything we'd built together. I still can't believe this is my reality, but looking back, I handled it like a champion. We met when my company was designing data infrastructure for an underwater research facility off the Washington coast. Sophia came in as our marine biology consultant to help us understand environmental requirements. She showed up in field boots and a wetsuit jacket, looking completely out of place among all the programmers, but when she started explaining deep-sea thermal dynamics, I was mesmerized. She was brilliant, passionate, and completely in her element. I offered to show her the best coffee spots in Seattle since she'd just moved from California. That coffee became dinner, then weekend hikes, and eventually 3 years together. We wanted the same things: kids, a house on one of the islands, shared dreams of the future. The wedding was planned for this gorgeous waterfront venue on Bainbridge Island. Sophia had spent months perfecting every detail: Pacific Northwest-themed decorations, locally sourced seafood, craft beer selections. I'd worked overtime for almost a year to afford everything she wanted, putting in 60-hour weeks and taking on extra freelance projects to build up our wedding fund. But seeing her excitement made every extra hour worth it. Both our families were flying in, my parents from Boston, her family from Portland. My best friend Tyler was coming from Vancouver to be my best man. We'd sent out 150 invitations, booked the honeymoon in New Zealand, and I'd already put down deposits totaling nearly $30,000. Everything seemed perfect. Then, 2 weeks before our wedding, Sophia started acting completely different. The first thing I noticed was her sudden obsession with her laptop. She'd always teased me about being glued to computers, but suddenly she was constantly typing, minimizing windows when I walked by, keeping the screen angled away from me. When I'd come up behind her, she'd quickly close it or switch tabs. Her behavior was jumpy, almost paranoid. She also started staying late at the Marine Institute constantly. Her stories about emergency research sessions began having holes, like claiming she had to analyze urgent deep-sea footage when I could see on their social media that the research vessel had been in port for maintenance. One night she said she was working on critical grant applications, but I knew the major funding deadlines weren't for months. Her colleague Brianna started showing up at our apartment more often too. Brianna had this energy that always made me uncomfortable. She'd been through multiple relationships, loved drama, and had that whole "if you can't handle me at my worst" vibe. She was 28, worked as a research coordinator at the Institute, and thrived on chaos. I'd always been polite but distant with her, because something felt manipulative about her, like she was always calculating how to use information. I'd hear them whispering in the kitchen, but they'd go silent whenever I appeared. I'd catch fragments like, "You deserve to be happy," and "You can't help how you feel." Classic manipulation tactics that I didn't recognize at the time. I was buried in work during all this, designing cloud infrastructure for a major sustainability project with Amazon. The deadlines were crushing, and I was pulling all-nighters regularly, completely focused on this massive contract that could set up our financial future. Looking back, Sophia probably planned her timing around my busy schedule, knowing I'd be too distracted to notice her behavior changes. Everything came crashing down when I made a simple, innocent discovery. I was working late one night when my laptop died mid-project. Sophia was asleep, so I grabbed her laptop from the coffee table to finish some urgent code. When I opened it, her messages were still up on the screen. What I saw made my stomach drop. Hundreds of messages with someone named Nathan. Intimate conversations, photos, late-night video calls. The timestamps showed they'd been talking for months, including messages sent the very day we mailed our wedding invitations. Nathan Cross. Her ex from graduate school. I sat there in our living room at 2 a.m., scrolling through months of my fiancée's secret relationship. She'd been telling this guy about our problems, our private moments, even complaining about my work schedule. There were photos of our apartment, our life together, like she was showing him what she was planning to give up. The worst message was from Nathan. I know the timing is terrible, but seeing your engagement announcement made me realize I never stopped loving you. I'm back in Seattle for the director position at the Institute. We could have the life we always talked about. Her response? I've thought about you every day since you left. Maybe this is the universe giving us a second chance. This wasn't some recent confusion. She'd been emotionally cheating for months while I worked overtime to pay for our wedding. The messages revealed everything. Nathan was her college sweetheart, the guy she'd dated for 4 years before he left for Arctic research. Now he was back with some prestigious position as lead research director at her institute. Basically, her dream job. The conversations showed a pattern of him systematically undermining our relationship while positioning himself as the better option. When Sophia mentioned my long work hours, he'd talk about work-life balance. When she complained about my practical approach to money, he'd describe spontaneous trips to research conferences in exotic locations. I took screenshots of everything. I don't know why. Maybe I needed proof it was real. Maybe my engineer brain just defaulted to documenting evidence. The next morning, I didn't say anything. I went to work like normal, but inside I was calculating my next move. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was strategic. Every interaction with Sophia felt like a chess game now. When she kissed me goodbye, I was analyzing her behavior for signs of guilt. When she talked about wedding details, I was planning my counter-strategy. I spent 3 days gathering more evidence and preparing for what was coming. I researched Nathan Cross. His LinkedIn showed an impressive career. His Instagram revealed a lifestyle of international conferences and exotic research locations. I also discovered Brianna's role in all this. Going back through the messages, I could see how she'd been feeding Sophia's doubts and pushing her toward Nathan. Brianna had orchestrated this entire situation, probably because she enjoyed the drama of breaking up happy couples. She'd been the one to first mention Nathan was back in Seattle, showed Sophia his social media posts, encouraged her to reach out professionally. On Friday evening, Sophia finally came to me with her rehearsed confession. She found me in my home office, sat down crying, and gave me this speech about being confused about her feelings and needing space to figure things out before our wedding. She tried to make it sound mature and responsible, like she was doing us both a favor by being honest about her doubts. But I already knew everything. Instead of exploding or confronting her about the messages, I did something that threw her completely off balance. I told her I understood, that maybe she should take some time to think. She was shocked, clearly expected me to fight for her, beg her to stay, maybe even cry. Not happening. She mentioned that Nathan had offered his place while she figured things out. Of course he has, I said calmly. That's very convenient timing. Here's where I made a decision that was absolutely calculated. We'd already scheduled our engagement dinner with both families for the following weekend. About 40 people, including parents, siblings, grandparents, and close friends. We'd sent invitations weeks ago. People had booked flights, made hotel reservations. Sophia assumed I'd cancel it. I didn't. This was going to be perfect. I called everyone and confirmed it was still happening, saying we had important news to share. When Sophia heard this, she thought I was planning some grand gesture to win her back. She was right about the grand gesture part, just not the kind she expected. While she was at Nathan's playing house, I spent the week executing my plan. I wasn't emotional about this anymore. I was strategic. She wanted to play games? Fine. But she was playing against someone who thinks 3 moves ahead for a living. I gathered screenshots of their conversations, printed them out, and planned exactly what I was going to say. Every word was going to count. I also called Tyler in Vancouver and told him everything, not just about Sophia's betrayal, but about my plan for the engagement dinner. "Dude, are you sure about this?" he asked. "That's going to be nuclear." "She chose nuclear when she decided to lie to my face for months," I replied. "I'm just making sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person they've been supporting." Tyler flew in 2 days early to help me prepare. I also used that week to quietly start separating our finances and contacted wedding vendors about cancellation policies. Strategic thinking in action. Meanwhile, Sophia was living her fantasy with Nathan. Fancy dinners, weekend trips, all the romantic stuff she'd always wanted that I'd never been able to afford while saving for our wedding. The engagement dinner was at this upscale waterfront restaurant with beautiful views of Elliott Bay. Both our families were there. My parents, her parents Frank and Linda, her brother Connor who works on my team, my sister, grandparents, close friends. About 40 people total, everyone in great spirits, sharing stories about our relationship, excited about the upcoming wedding. Sophia showed up looking beautiful, wearing the dress from our first date. She kept squeezing my hand, whispering about how she'd realized what really mattered, how she was ready to commit fully to our relationship. She was practically glowing with confidence, thinking she'd successfully manipulated the situation. I smiled and nodded. Let her think she'd won. After dinner, I stood up with my wine glass and asked for everyone's attention. Thank you all for being here tonight. Sophia and I do have important news to share about our relationship. Sophia was beaming, probably thinking I was about to profess my love and forgiveness. Before I begin, I want to be completely honest with everyone here about what's been happening. I pulled out the printed screenshots and set them on the table. 2 weeks ago, I discovered that Sophia has been in a relationship with her ex-boyfriend Nathan Cross for the past several months. While I've been working overtime to pay for our wedding, she's been planning a future with someone else. The room went completely silent. Sophia's face drained of all color. These are just some of the hundreds of messages they've exchanged while we've been engaged, I continued, my voice surprisingly steady. Including conversations about leaving me, complaints about our relationship, and photos of our apartment that she sent to him. Sophia started saying, "Marcus, please don't." But I kept going. So our announcement tonight is that there will be no wedding. Sophia has chosen to explore her feelings with Nathan instead of honoring our engagement. Her father Frank looked like he was about to explode. Her mother Linda was staring at Sophia in shock. My parents just looked devastated. Sophia was crying now, trying to grab the papers. This isn't. I was confused. I made a mistake. Marcus, please. I looked directly at her and delivered the line I'd been perfecting all week. The mistake wasn't being confused about your feelings. The mistake was thinking you could play me for a fool while I planned our future. You didn't just betray me. You disrespected everyone in this room who believed in us. I stood up, threw cash on the table for dinner, and walked out like a boss. The silence behind me was deafening. The aftermath was brutal for everyone involved, but especially for Sophia. Within days, everyone at the Marine Institute knew what had happened. Sophia became the subject of workplace gossip. Nathan, who apparently thought this would all be handled privately, started distancing himself when he realized the whole story was public. Sophia tried calling me constantly, leaving voicemails about how she'd made a terrible mistake, how she was confused and scared, how Nathan had manipulated her feelings. She begged me to meet with her, to go to counseling, to give her another chance. I didn't respond to a single message. Radio silence is the most powerful response to someone who betrayed you. The beautiful thing was watching her desperation grow. She went from confident to confused to panicked to desperate, all while I focused on my next move. The worst part was that I had genuinely loved her. But love without respect is worthless. She'd shown me exactly how much respect she had for me, our relationship, and our future together. 0. That made walking away easy. 3 months later, I accepted a senior position with a major tech company in Vancouver. Better salary, equity package, and most importantly, a chance to start over. Tyler's company hired me, and we're working together again. Sophia even tried showing up at the airport when I was leaving for Vancouver, but I just walked past her. The irony? Nathan dumped her after 6 weeks. Turns out he was only interested in the thrill of stealing another man's woman, not actually building a life with her. He's already engaged to someone else, a graduate student half his age. Classic. Sophia moved back in with her parents and started therapy. She quit her job at the institute because everyone knew what she'd done. Her reputation was destroyed. Meanwhile, I was thriving. I found out all this through Connor, who still updates me occasionally. He said she asks about me sometimes, but he just tells her I'm doing well and changes the subject. I am doing well. I met an incredible architect named Sarah through work, and we've been dating for 4 months. She's brilliant, honest, and has never given me a reason to doubt her. Looking back, I handled everything exactly right. The engagement dinner wasn't cruel, it was justice. She chose to humiliate me privately for months. I simply returned the favor publicly for one night. Fair trade. The lesson here is simple. When someone disrespects you, don't negotiate. Don't beg. Don't try to understand their perspective. Set your boundaries and enforce them without emotion. Sophia showed me exactly who she was through her actions. A woman who would lie to my face for months while planning her exit strategy. That's not someone you build a life with. That's someone you cut loose immediately. Some men would have fought for her, begged her to stay, tried to win her back from Nathan. That's weak behavior that only teaches women they can treat you poorly without consequences. I did the opposite. I showed her that disrespecting me comes with a price, and that price was losing me forever. I'm grateful now that I found out before we got married, before we had kids, before our lives became even more intertwined. Sophia actually did me a favor by showing her true colors when she did. The best revenge isn't just living well, it's becoming the man she wishes she could have back but never will. Standing in my Vancouver apartment, pulling down multiple 6 figures, dating a woman who actually respects relationships, I'm not just happier than before. I'm operating on a completely different level. Sophia traded a man who was building an empire for a guy who pumped and dumped her in 6 weeks. That's not my loss. That's her lesson. Hit that subscribe button if you think I handled this exactly right.